Thank you for joining us on this week's edition of our Image Comics reviews. Every single week, Image provides us with early access to their weekly books so we can provide you with reviews day and date. So if that's something that you like, make sure that you let us know by following us on wherever it is that you listen to your podcast. If that happens to be YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Leave us some comments to let us know what you're thinking about our reviews and what books you want us to review that we're not. We're going to start today with Radiant Black number 4. Then we're going to review Home number 2, and then Ultramega number 3. So three of the biggest books coming from Image this week. We're here to talk about them. So again, Radiant Black number 4. Kyle Higgins writing it. Marcelo Costa on arts. With color assistance from Rod Fernandez and letters by Becca Carey. So we have been all over the place with this book. We've kind of generally been saying, let's get to the point. Pete's been a big defender. This issue is called Everything Changes. And by the end of the issue, that is certainly true. But my question is, have our opinions changed about this book in light of the massive revelation at the end? Kale, you have been a big detractor of this series. How do you feel now that something has actually happened?
I'm actually really frustrated for two reasons. One, why did it take this long? But I also, again, credit to Kyle Higgins and how relatable this character is. That's probably exactly what I would do with superpowers too. Dick around for a month, and then as soon as something real happens, I would die immediately.
That's funny.
But I expect that our guy will come back. But it was cool to see him in action and everything. But it was frustrating that had to happen here. And I guess that's sort of what what I'm interested in talking about, because I'm really unsure how I feel about it, because it's like I said, nothing happened and then this happened. I don't know. It's cool to see the red guy.
That's fair.
Any thoughts on why we spent 4.5 issues or three and a half issues with one protagonist sitting down and writing, then to just die? Like, why did we have to waste our time with that?
So I wonder if maybe this won't be his color, maybe the radiant black or whatever wasn't for him. Maybe it was actually supposed to go to the other guy whose name escapes me. But I as I was just kind of thinking and ruminating on it all, because we know in his dreams, God, what is it, the protagonist's name even? Nathan. Which is so funny because this guy looks like me. He's got my parents' fucking Midwest house. He's got my occupation. He's got my hair, and he's got my middle name. Why can't I remember anything about him?
Hilarious.
So in his dreams, in Nathan's dreams, we saw, I think it was last issue, that he sees himself in the future with the beard and the cape and the radiant black suit. So presumably that's like a vision of things to come, as well as he's sort of like downloading the, or merging with the black hole, right? I was reminded, as I was like thinking about all this, of the really pivotal moment in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, when Tommy disappears, because his Green Ranger coin is, I think, destroyed, and he disappears, and the White Ranger suddenly appears.
Huh.
Uh, Billy and Alpha and Zordon were building like the White Ranger power, and that like took, as I recall, it felt like forever. It was probably 2 episodes, but I'm wondering if something like that was going to happen, because I remember how dramatic that was for my 8-year-old brain. So I'm wondering if something like that is going to happen. Maybe Nathan is going to change colors, or he's going to evolve somehow.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this is the most compelling issue because something happens, And now I think all Sean's kind of backhanded comments about it are totally valid. Oh, why did we spend 3.5 issues with this one guy for him to die? That's a good question. Now I'm curious. What does happen? Now I don't know if I'm down for 3 more issues to find out. It's better not go that direction because we have limited real estate. But it actually has a direction. It feels like finally. So I don't know if I'm on board with this, but I'll tell you what. I think this is by far the best issue we've read so far of Radiant Black.
Because something happened.
Because something happened.
I think this was the one that sold it for me. I think because I've been, like Sean said, defending it because I felt like it was building towards something, and I think that what Kale laid down is probably correct. I have a feeling that that Nathan will come back at some capacity, whether that's the Nathan that we've spent time getting to know or another version of him remains to be seen. But I think for me, I was into this issue before that reveal because it felt like we were getting into a good groove. I thought, like, I think the scene where they're training and everything, there are a few of those like one-liners and the kind of back and forth that like I liked a lot. I think that like I think it was Kale said, like, seeing the red, radiant red or whatever, like, return and have them have that conflict was really cool. I liked their banter throughout that fight. I thought specifically there's like a 2 or 3 page cut there, right, of like Nathan putting on the suit. They go back and forth. He flings them down the street, and then like they have that scene where they crash through the building, and it's like them fighting on the one side, and then the right is a full page of them going through each floor of the building. Like, I thought that was really cool. Like, there's some good beats in that, and I found myself into the rhythm of the issue between those things. So then when you get to the actual reveal, I definitely didn't think that was going to happen, right? Like, I figured, oh, all right, he'll pull Nathan out, and it's like, look, you were a hero, you did a thing, like, this should motivate you. And then it swerved, and I was like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, that subverted my expectation. And, this is the first time that the book has done something that, like, really surprised me. And I think that the question of, like, why did we spend that time if this is where we were going, I have confidence that it will be answered based on some of the stuff that Kale laid out. But also, I think, for me, that lulling me into that, oh, this is the rhythm of this book and this is where it's going, or where I think it's going, and then now I have no idea where it's going, that makes me excited to see what issue 5 has to offer. And, for some people it might be too little too late. But I had confidence it was going to go somewhere that would interest me. And I think this is, at least for now, giving me more of that rope to keep coming along. This was enough carrot for me.
If we weren't doing this show, I wouldn't read this book anymore. I feel like my time and money has been wasted because it's a $4 comic, and I just saw this dude who doesn't do anything but sit around and write all day, doesn't like the fact that he even has these powers, doesn't care about them, now die. And the other dude who actually likes it, Marshall, now he's going to be the superhero. Okay, so why couldn't we just skip all that? I'm sure there's going to be some reason, but I don't feel like spending, several more dollars to find out. Like it feels like a waste of time. And you know, I think this is one of the best looking books on the market right now. The art is phenomenally good. It's sad though. It's kind of bittersweet because it's like, man, you could have been drawing this for the last 3 issues. Instead, you were drawing a guy at a cafe, struggling to figure out what he wants to put on the page. Like, come on, man. This is a pretty book. This dude is being wasted. Look at how good this book looks. And from this point forward, maybe it'll be more action packed. Maybe Marshall is going to lean into his powers. But I don't really feel like starting again, with another character. And if Nathan is going to come back, that's cool. But I didn't care about him to begin with. This book to this point hasn't done enough to make me care about these guys. Nathan is not necessarily a good guy. He hasn't done anything that great. He saved that one family. But, I want to know him. I want to know why he's the right guy for this job. And to this point, I don't really know why. Meanwhile, Marshall's just kind of a douche who likes superheroes. And I don't care about that either. So I just don't feel like this book is, for me, it's not serving me up anything that I'm like amazed by. And frankly, it's been kind of boring. So again, like if it wasn't for this podcast, I would be done. As good as it looks, and I think this, again, one of the best looking books out, I would rather not continue to be dragged along by Kyle Higgins.
Yeah, I get that. I 100% get that. Because I genuinely had that same thought.
They really should have gone with the original title, which was I think it was called Writer's Block.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I get why you guys feel that way. I'm bummed that you feel that way because I feel like this is where now I'm like, oh, all right, cool. Like I was hoping that you guys would feel similarly, but hey,
yeah, I'm still in. Like I want to see where it goes. Like
okay, that's cool.
Kyle Higgins has had me on the premise, and the art is incredible. I'm here for the Power Ranger guy. Like. I gotta support that where it comes. Like, but I mean, I'm also right there with Sean. Like, up to now, like, this is kind of sucked.
I don't know. Yeah. I hope that you guys feel differently by the end of the arc.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
Because I don't know. I don't mind that the first 3 issues were slow if we're going somewhere, if we're driving somewhere. And I have that moment like you get in like a good Hickman book where it's like later and like everything clicks into place and you're like, ah, yes. Now I understand why we spent that time. But I think with some of this stuff, you won't feel differently, right? Like the whole like writer's block issue or whatever, right? Like that worked for you or it didn't. So I don't know.
But even Hickman knows to not do it for 3 issues, and especially the first 3 issues.
Yeah, fair enough. Like I can't argue with that.
Yeah, you can't. That's right.
I mean, I could, but
no, you can't.
All right, whatever.
So we've already established that we get these reviews from Image. Pete, would you feel the same way if you already spent $12 on this?
I think probably I would because I'm engaged, like I'm interested to see where it goes, But I also like I have expendable income, and like
oh, here we go.
What? Sorry, like it's a fact. Like I was gonna say that, like
Oh, rub it in that it's a fact now too. Oh, great.
He's just teasing you. I watched.
Are we done? Are we done?
I watched Pete enjoy reading it the entire time he read it, so he's hooked.
Phil was upstairs. I laughed out loud at a point. Like, yeah, I like it, but
you laugh.
my point, my point in bringing that up, right, is that like I know that I don't have to be as choosy about what books I pick up, so it's easy for me to say that and be like, yeah, whatever, I could spend $12 on this and it would be fine. But like, not every comics reader is gonna feel the same way. So like, I don't begrudge anybody for looking at this and being like, I don't feel like I've gotten my money's worth here yet, or and at this point being like, fuck it, you know, that's fine. I totally get that. But I think for me, like, especially after this issue, I feel on the boat more so than like wanting to be on the boat and being like, well, let's see where it goes, you know? Because that's kind of the energy I felt like I've had so far, is like I wanted to like it more than I was liking it. Whereas this issue, I really connected with it, I think.
If this was issue 3 and not 4, I would probably feel very similarly.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. That third issue is rough. I don't think this is a bad book though. I think it's totally okay. I feel like I can't form a fully formed opinion because I feel like it's still taking its time to get fucking going. So we'll see where it goes. I'm still hooked through the story arc at least. I do want to see where I want to get to the fireworks factory, as they say.
Fair enough. Let's jump ship and talk about Home number 2. Obviously, Home got a lot of press given its subject matter. This, of course, coming from Julio Anta, who wrote it, with art by Anna Wesizik. I struggle with these names.
Wesizik or something?
Wesizik, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
With colors by Brian Valenza and letters, of course, by Hassan Atsmain El Hau. So we weren't super high on the first issue of this book. We were critical of it for a variety of reasons. Marco and I kind of felt like it was representing the absolute worst possible scenario in every single scene. Every single adult was an awful human. And like, it just didn't, there was nothing, it felt like reading a newspaper or watching the news. There was no story there. This issue does allow things to breathe a little more, and it does kind of get into what the actual story is about a little bit more. Did this issue change anyone's feelings about what this series is so far?
I don't dislike the premise, you know? And I think it's kind of interesting. It reminds me of like the stuff that happened in I think it was Logan, the movie, where it was like how X-23 like escapes from like a experimenting facility or something.
Yeah.
There's like the elements of that in here. And obviously it's trying to be really mindful and cognizant of like the migrant crisis that's taking place right now. I appreciate all that. I do. But the execution leaves a lot to be desired, in my opinion. I think it's just... It has a lot to say, but it doesn't know how to say it, you know? And I think something I really struggle with in this book is I feel like the art is not great. And I feel like it really hurts my ability to like kind of connect to the characters. Like, it kind of looks like... like it kind of looks like characters you would see in like a textbook of like, you know what I mean, where like, I don't know, I'm disappointed.
Yeah, I don't know. I was like a little bit more willing to give it some rope in the first issue because I think that it felt a lot like a first issue, right? It felt a lot like hey, we're trying to establish like what this book's about and, you know, where we're coming down on this and everything. And you know, I don't know. I'm often willing to give an issue 1 enough rope to hang itself because I know that it can be hard to start a story, right? And a lot of stories that I really love, I don't like right away. You know, like finding your legs is sometimes difficult, and like a creative team sometimes needs time to coalesce, you know? So I think the fact that, to Phil's point, I thought that the narrative premise was interesting, right? And showed promise. You can understand how a story about a refugee becoming a superhero could be really compelling, right? Like I think that there's totally room for that to that idea to have real legs, but I don't know. I just really don't feel like this book has it. I think that the dialogue feels pretty stiff, and there's no way to say this without coming off some kind of way, but it reminds me of when I was, like taking creative writing classes, and I was trying to work on scripts where I wanted to like talk about a social issue or like a heady issue through the lens of superheroes, and it feels like a lot less like peanut butter and jelly and a lot more like peanut butter and ham, where it's like these are not blending together. Like the him being a superhero thing so far has only been used as like a Deus Ex, which isn't inherently problematic. Again, this is only the second issue, but like the kind of unceremonious way that his aunt like reveals everything and is like, oh, your dad was a superhero and that's actually why he got killed. And then it's like, okay, then you're kind of like taking this real world thing of gang violence and like this gang wanting to recruit this young boy and like a family wanting to escape that environment, and then and like injecting this superhero element to it, and it feels kind of clumsy to me. And again, not because you can't, like, not because I think it's a problem that his dad had powers or any of those. And none of these things put together is inherently an off switch for me. But I think, like, to Phil's point, I just don't feel like it comes across with much style. And because it feels kind of flat, I'm finding it hard to connect with the characters, or, like now it's like he's already not on the run. Like, I thought the book was going to be about him being on the run. Now he's with his aunt. Like, I don't really, like, what is this story about?
Yeah. I'm with you, man. Like, the way she tells him what's going on, his powers and whatnot.
Bless you.
Thank you. The way she delivers that is the way that the book delivers every bit of information. It's just,
let me tell you the things that are happening.
Yeah. It doesn't feel soulful. It doesn't feel like there's life in it. And that's a problem, especially when you're dealing with something so heavy, right? Like, the first issue starts with them, being in essentially an internment camp, I guess, and now his mom is being deported. Like, these are heavy things. Meanwhile, this kid's just on fire. Like, and again, Pete said it perfectly. You can absolutely do that. There's no reason you cannot do that, but you have to be kind of careful, I guess, and really, say something unique and special, and say it in a way that's captivating, and not kind of like dry, for lack of a better term. I don't think that the premise here is bad, but I agree. The dialogue, there's you need, in my opinion, you have to have more chops to be able to do this story justice, because it's very tough. This is tough stuff. And even honestly, like, from an art perspective, I got kind of tired of it really fast, seeing those enormous drops of tears, like those gigantic, massive streams of tears. It was just over the top, silly and weird in a book that's otherwise trying to be presented as like, kind of straight. It just, I don't know. It doesn't feel up to the standard of Image Comics.
I also
creatively.
I think from the art perspective, something that we talked about, and you called it out earlier, Sean, the whole like that there are like a lot of kind of like cartoonishly like bad dudes who work for like the Border Patrol or whatever, right? And like fuck the Border Patrol. This is not me saying that they should be presented more with more humanity or whatever. But like you look at the dude like, and he's got like these like tribal tattoos and these very like weird like scary looking like monster teeth. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, why does he look like that? Like he's a bad guy. The way he talks is enough for me to know he was a bad guy. You know what I mean? Right. Like it like Phil said, like it feels almost like a picture book quality in that way of like, yes, this is how villains are drawn, To
that, at the very end of the book, when the kid thinks that ICE is coming for him and they're not, the last thing that the super evil ICE guy says is, "You're going back to where you came from." Like, okay, like again, no defense of any of that, right? But I highly doubt that people who do that, every single one of them is just like, yes, I love deportation. I am so racist and it's great. Like, I just don't believe in that. I believe that most of them are probably people doing their jobs and it is what it is for them. But this is just evil. They're just crazy evil.
So the dude they tackle is like,
yep,
he's white.
And again, you can be light-skinned and still be, but that was my first thought. I was like, oh, okay, they caught a guy who like was stealing from a store, and it was supposed to be a message about how like, not all people who cops are after are minorities. That's what I thought. But yeah.
Or like I also took it as like, oh, like he's just afraid of police. Like, these are just cops.
Nah, it says ICE.
No, I know. Yeah. That's the thing is that I saw it said ICE, and I'm like, why? Like, that would, you know what I mean? Like, that would be better if it was just, like you said, they're tackling some shoplifter or whatever, and he thinks they're coming after him. And the fact that he, as, an illegal immigrant, is just afraid of the police, and that's his reality.
Yes, it should be.
Yeah, like, that makes more sense. That's better. Like, I don't know. Yeah, and like I to the point that Phil like softly made earlier, right? Like it's like I wish I didn't feel this negatively because like I like the premise and I wanna like the book, but I just don't. And it's not anything about it except for its execution, which makes it worse. It reminds me of how I felt about X-Corp on the show proper this week of like, yeah, like I want to fuck with this. I do. But it's just not working for me.
Yeah. And it, this book is getting a lot of press, like I said earlier, and a lot of people have enjoyed it. And
Issue 1 got a second printing and everything I saw. Like, that's great.
Yeah. Just over here in Comics Pals land, it's not, I don't know. We're just not feeling it. Anything to add before we move forward?
No disrespect.
Yeah, exactly. And I wish that went without saying, but it doesn't.
It really doesn't. Right? I want to make that crystal fucking clear.
Yeah. So let's talk about Ultramega number 3. This, of course, by James Harren, with Dave Stewart on colors and Russ Wooten on letters. Harren is doing everything else.
This book.
So that's pretty cool. This is, I don't know if you guys know this, but this book is $8.
I saw that with this one. Yeah, because we've been doing the advanced review copies, like we said. Like, I haven't picked this one up, and I noticed on that, I was like, holy shit. I mean, it's a double-long issue, every issue, so it's not like it's not worth it, but, like, that's kind of crazy that we're technically, like, 6 issues into this sucker when you really think about it.
Sure. What'd you guys make of it?
Oh, this issue.
I want to hear what you made of it, actually.
Yeah, I'd like to.
I really didn't like it.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't
All right,
like
as
it
you were, Phil.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Why? I know this isn't your type of book, but you said you didn't like it. Go on.
Oh boy. I think that every single thing that's happening is just really, really weird and off-putting. I don't like the art. Um, I I'm not even know I don't even know that I'm following the story, quite frankly. Like it feels like it's all over the place. Um, this is just not even like the fact that you guys apparently feel so good about it and I don't shows me that I'm not even in the stadium of the people that this is for. So I have no business talking about it. It's pointless.
Yeah, I was just wondering if anything had changed.
Oh no. Well, yeah, in the negative.
Fair enough.
I'm not surprised, but I did
yeah.
want to hear what you
Yeah,
thought.
I'm not either.
I this issue I was cooler on than number 2, but I still liked it. I think that this issue did feel hard to follow at first. I think that's something that this book is kind of generally guilty of. Is that it's not always crystal clear what's happening, and I think because sometimes it feels vague. Like coming into this issue, I struggled to remember what had happened in the previous one because some of it was vague, and it kind of took me a few pages before I was like, "Oh right, this is where this character left off. This is how they ended up here. Cool, whatever." I think once you get to the Colosseum, it kind of comes together a little bit more, and it felt like, all right, cool. Like I'm here. I get where we're at. It's weird because like the narrative through line is not the thing for me. You know, like I'm following it enough to keep up with it, but really like what I'm here for is the art and like I like the dressing of the world. It reminds me of some other kind of similar science fiction that we've read in the past or that we've discussed that is not really about the characters as much as it is about just like being in this weird world and, you know, having there be pieces that are set up in front of you and being like, I think I know what these mean. And then you don't, right? Like there's the conversation between our POV character whose name I don't know and like the alien in the kaiju, in the jail.
Noah.
Noah's Noah. And like, you know, all of a sudden he's like, I have an easier way out. And you think he's giving Noah the knife to kill himself. And then he just cuts his own fucking throat all the way out.
That was awesome.
That was right? Like, that was cool. Or like how, you have, you have a similar moment that I had in my mind and I lost it. But, or here's a good one actually, right? With like Boosh, right? Like, it's like the big tough guy and he goes out and fights and you assume he's going to probably die, but like the way he dies is very surprising. The fucking proboscis mouth sack thing that this thing produces or whatever. It's gross. It's very graphic. It's fucked up and weird. But like that's this book's vibe. Is
that shit fucking slayed.
Yeah, like its whole thing is giving you this weird like Cronenbergian-esque fucking imagery of just fucked up weird body horror monsters and, you know, I think
he shits him out.
like right afterwards too, yeah. Yeah, so I think for me like the book is dripping with so much personality and like it has a clear vibe and aesthetic that is very unique. I don't really care that some of the narrative stuff doesn't quite click for me because I'm just having a fun time exploring the world page by page, you know?
Yeah, I'm right there. And the way Noah wins his conflict is really cool too. I think that's like innovative. They call him a warrior. And then when you find out the four-legged Metagross looking fucking monster is dating the weird proboscis creature, it's like
that was also cool.
Very funny. It drops you in a world. It's very foreign. Everything's different, and you're just kind of along for the ride. It is hard to keep up. And And I think if this book wasn't as beautiful as it was, with incredible colors by Dave Stewart, I wouldn't be engaged. If this had like the art of Home, I'd be like, what the fuck am I reading?
Or like even just less interesting creature design, you know, because that's something we've often dinged creators for, where it's like, look at this generic ass alien that they're fighting, or like, look at this nondescript monster, right? Like, every one of these motherfuckers has a super unique design.
So, yeah, I think I understand your frustrations with the narrative so far, Sean. I know you need things to make like logic sense, and I think if you're a pure writer, that coming into these books for the writing quality, this isn't it. And I make no bars about that. But this, in terms of creating kind of a world and aesthetic, I'm into it. I'm intrigued. I want to keep reading.
Good. Does it bother you at all that the book is so long? Does it kind of like make it harder to keep track?
Yeah.
I don't think so for me. Like, it surprises me every time. Like, when I sit down and I'm like, oh, right, yeah, this is long. But it never feels long because I think because they have the double length, they're a little bit bolder about page real estate. So, like, you'll have lots of pages that are just art, you know, or that have, like I'm looking at the thing where, the big bad, the kaiju mother, whatever, shows up. And there are less than 10 words on the page, you know?
Yeah.
It's easy. It's easy to read. You want to take the time and sit and drink in all the art, but I find books that are art heavy versus word heavy to be easy to get through, pacing wise. And, I think it being double long has actually served it better because its biggest strength is the art. So being able to take time with the fights and the beats and all those kinds of things, you're just getting more of what the best part of the book is, in my opinion.
I think the thing that does frustrate me is in the back matter. I guess it's the editor and James Herron say that the next issue will be the end of the first arc. And I think I would like a little bit more than that, but I think it depends on how it goes. I guess I don't necessarily mind a 4-issue arc. I think, if I recall correctly, that's what the Headlopper trades are as well.
That is tough when you consider that the first issue isn't really in the arc, though. Like, the first issue is kind of like a prologue, so it's really a 3-issue arc.
You said that, but I think that's a hunk of baloney. But they are extra long, as we've said. So,
Yeah. So you in a way you're kind of getting, like
that
almost
amount.
an extended, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really more 8 issues than 6, right? Like,
Yeah.
when it's all said and done. So I mean that is kind of cool. Yeah, I'm glad that you guys are enjoying this. This is probably the first book that we've done more than like an issue of that I didn't care about in any way, shape, or form. And so it's cool to see you guys are into it. Are you listeners into it though? That's what we want to know. Some of these books are books that you specifically said you wanted to hear more of us from, and you've reacted really well to our image reviews. So we're going to keep doing them as long as that's the case. We're enjoying these books. We're happy that you're enjoying these books. Even if we aren't enjoying the books, if you want to hear us talk about them, continue to write in and let us know. Hit us at thecomicspals@gmail.com. You guys have been amazing on YouTube. Absolutely amazing. So keep that going. We really, really appreciate it. We don't know if you listen to the main show, but every single week when you drop your comments, we read them over there. So you're not being abandoned in any way, shape, or form. Thank you so much for that. Thank you to Image for providing us with these review copies. We really appreciate it. And again, if you are enjoying this, make sure that you are leaving us a follow, a subscribe over on YouTube, drop those comments as you have been, and share the video with your friends. All those things are free to do, and they help us out a lot more than they cost you. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week on our Image reviews every single Wednesday. Until then, take care, guys.
see you next week. Thanks, Image.